again, live on YouTube. Once again, at a different time as well. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. We're not doing this on purpose. We're not intentionally trying to be evasive with when the show takes place. Circumstances have arisen, and we are here an hour earlier than we planned. But Friday, I swear, Friday will be 9 a.m. Central, live on YouTube. Or you watch it archive on the site, or you listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. It's still plenty of ways for you to find us as we do our best to avoid you. Good morning, Gordon Mack.
Good morning, Kevin Sully. Yes, we are an hour early because of a situation that involves one of our co-hosts, which shall remain nameless. But yeah, another few interesting things that's happened since the weekend. We had the 50K world record from Dez Linden. Casey Lightfoot went pro. A few other things. It's gonna be a good pod.
Yeah, good pod. I didn't know if we're going to have enough. When we got done with Monday, I'm always like, man, we ran through all those results very quickly. Are we going to have anything left for Wednesday? But of course, something always comes up. But before we do that, before we talk about the news that you discussed, I want to get in a little bit to some events that are going on this weekend, because we got some meets that are actually live on our network here on FloTrack that we wanted to talk about. First, let's start with this marathon. The NN Mission Marathon featuring Eliud Kipchoge, which takes place on Sunday morning, very, very early Central Time out here in the United States, or late, depending on how you look at it. It's going to be Kipchoge's first marathon since he finished 8th in London and had his win streak snapped. And we presume this is going to be his last big race before he goes for another gold medal at the Olympic Games. This race was initially scheduled to take place in Hamburg on a loop course with a small pro-only field. It got changed because of COVID, so he's now racing this at an airport in the Netherlands. Again, a loop course, like we talked about before. Only Kipchoge could get his race moved to an airport. That's what happens when you run 1:59:40. That's what happens when you rule over the marathon like he has over the last couple of years. What are you excited to see in this effort for Kipchoge? What do you expect to see after he lost for the first time in several years?
Well, I expect to see him win. I expect that. I don't think he can go. I don't think he can start a losing streak. I don't think he's had a losing streak in a long time. So I can expect him to win. The question is, how quick will he go? How smooth will he look? Will he, like, it's so weird to kind of look at Kipchoge coming off a loss. We haven't had that experience in some years' time. And I don't know, like, in a weird way, I think like he's going to go out there and run like 2:01, right? But there's also a part of me realizes like, hey, he doesn't run 2:01s every time. Like, he is human. He does have like, he's not always breaking two like he's been doing the past few years. So I think we're just going to see a solid run, a solid dominating run where he's going to make like a 2:04 or 2:05 look very easy. That's what I think.
And I think that would be enough for him to go into the Olympics as the favorite. If he loses, especially in this field where the next fastest person has a PB of 2:05, then you'd be worried, because then that's 2 in a row. That's starting to develop a trend. But you're right. I don't think he needs to run a 2:01 to become a favorite, because right now there's no clear second person. You have to be obviously concerned about Kipchoge because he got 8th in London. But who's the person who's chomping at the bit to get that title? Is it Lawrence Chirono? Is it Shira Katada? There's some guys out there, but there's no clear second person who is breathing down his neck right now. So I think he can push some of them back with a strong effort here. I expect him obviously to win. I'm looking back the last time. So he won his first marathon ever in Hamburg. Then he lost his second marathon in Berlin. And then he came back the following year and he responded with a 2:05 flat in Rotterdam. And then again, didn't lose since. So the last time he he lost the marathon, Gordon. He went on about a 7-year win streak. I don't think that's what we're going to see this time. But for Kipchoge, what he's really concerned about this race and then the Olympics, and then he's probably figuring it out from there. I don't know how long he's going to continue at this. I don't know how long he's going to continue at this level, but the race does get more interesting because of what happened in London last year. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, when you said you don't know what he's gonna do after the Olympics, he's gonna hit the local 5K circuit and collect some $1,000 cash prizes, run the turkey trots. in
Turkey
this world.
trots. Yeah.
Imagine if he would do that, like undercover elite runner, where Kipchoge
Mhm.
just literally spends like 3 months traveling the U.S., going to all these local charity runs, and just like, thank you, I'll have that $500 here. Thanks for the $1,500 here. That'd be hilarious. He should do
Yeah,
that.
like Kyrie Irving in those commercials,
Yeah, Uncle
right?
Drew.
He
Yeah,
just he goes on undercover Kipchoge. Who is this guy who showed up to this Shamrock Shuffle and ran an 8K in 22 minutes? I don't know who that is.
and then he came
But
back and
look,
ran the mile as well.
I thought it was weird when he signed up for the Kids K. So the second seed in this race, Felix Chimangas, 2:05.12. It's funny just to look at the PBs here. Kipchoge, 2:01.39, and then all the way down to 2:05.12. I would guess one of these guys behind him is going to have a good day, a breakout day. But if Kipchoge is anywhere near his best, they should not be able to beat him. On the women's side of things, obviously there's not a headliner like Kipchoge. Madai Perez is the top seed, 2:22.59. Sarah Moreira, 2:24.49. They're billing this race, Gordon, just in general as a chance to get qualifying times for the Olympics. So if you're interested, obviously, in Kipchoge, you're going to be very happy. But if you're also tracking who is going to be on the start line come Olympics, which countries are going to have to make some tough decisions about who to send. This race, he doesn't run slow ones, Kipchoge. He's not signing up to run uphill 10 miles straight. So this is going to be a quick course. And I'm guessing we're going to get a lot of people running Olympic qualifying times on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many countries have already selected their marathon team. I know the U.S. we selected ours 2 pandemics ago. It feels like a long time ago, but yeah, I'm not sure how many of these athletes are like bubble athletes according to the federation to kind of look at this as a last chance marathon to kind of clinch a spot in the Olympics. It will be interesting though. I'm sure this will be compelling storylines in that 3rd through 10th spot where they're just trying to either get this Olympic standard to represent their country, etc. So be interesting.
And as
Also,
we mentioned, you can watch.
It's going to be on an airport terminal. It's going to be an airport hangar. It's basically how much does it cost to like delay all the flights?
The airport is not in use currently, per my research, and it's just
Okay.
one runway. It's one runway, but they're getting a lot of mileage out of that one runway because they're not doing 40 loops, which makes me think if you went to a major airport that had several runways, you probably wouldn't even need to. Could you get a marathon out of 4 or 5 loops? I don't know how big the average airport terminal is, but he's getting. I looked at the course map; they're going around not that many times, so there's a lot of distance here they're getting.
Some airport terminals are deceptively very large. Like the Dallas airport terminal is bigger than Manhattan. It's bigger than Manhattan. Isn't that crazy?
Is that a true fact, or did you just say that right now?
Dallas airport is bigger than Manhattan. Look it up.
Okay, so maybe
people on the YouTube comments can fact check me. They can Google that while we're here. But yeah,
DFW is bigger than Manhattan. Oh my gosh.
The square footage is bigger than the square footage of Manhattan. And also, it just also reminded me, I'm not sure if you ever heard me say this, but you know how people in the sport kind of try to come up with interesting locations for a track meet? Like I remember Drake did a high jump in a grocery store. They do pole vault on the street, shot put in front of the Capitol. I'm thinking we need a 100-meter dash inside a terminal. And specifically, I think it should be the Chicago terminal where there's like this underground spot where it goes from one terminal to the other. Set up 100-meter straightaway, and it'll be perfect. Everyone is used to sprinting from one terminal to the other to miss their flight, and this time we get Noah Lyles, we get Trayvon Bromell, and all the greats to not miss their flight, and it's gonna be like, don't miss your flight dash, and to see who can run from one terminal to the other in the quickest time. And then you could put a regular person on the moving walkway and race Trayvon. So like you put me on the moving walkway, Trayvon on non-moving walkway, and then we race and see if I can beat him, which I won't, but they'll be fun. All these ideas
not only have
going
you
on in my head.
Well, not only have you told me this before, you've literally told me the story in the airport that you're describing one time when we had a layover in Chicago, I believe is where you first unveiled this theory to me. You may have told other people. At the very least, it's a commercial.
Yeah.
One of those airlines heading into the Olympics.
Isn't United like the official partner of the Olympics or something like that?
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
I may have made that up.
We have a fact check coming in on the chat here from Joseph. At 17,207 acres, DFW is larger than the island of Manhattan and is the second largest airport by land area in the United States after Denver. So Denver's even bigger. Denver's airport. My goodness.
Yeah, deceptive.
Yeah, a lot of marathon opportunities is what I'm seeing. Maybe Kipchoge takes his show on the road. He only does airport marathons from here on out. So that race, the NN Mission Marathon, you can watch it live on FloTrack in the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, and Australia. The other race I want to talk about, we just got some entries from, Gordon. The Brian Clay Invite in Southern California, which takes place on Friday and Saturday, and it features Sydney McLaughlin, who is going to run, per the entries, the high hurdles, which she's run already once this year, and the 400. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm interested in this 400. I'm very interested in this 400. Her PB, 50:07 from 2008 when she was in college. We just passed the 2-year anniversary.
2008? You mean 2018?
2018. 2018. Sorry. You said you're losing track of time, so am I. So the PB 50:07 from 2018. So we just passed the 2-year anniversary of the PB. She ran another one as a pro in 2019, went under 51 in that race. But I'm just really curious to see. We've seen her do a 60-meter hurdle race this year. Seen her do a high hurdle race. She's going to do a high hurdle race in this meet. We're getting closer and closer to her main event. Obviously, we've seen her in a 4x4, but the last time she's run an open 50.78 in Shanghai. What are you interested in seeing from her? What do you think is possible? Do you think she could PB in this race?
Well, part of me makes me think that we should expect a 49 point, because if someone like Shamir Little is out there running 49 seconds and that's competition in the 400 hurdles, you would think that if Sydney is clearly, and Sydney and Delilah are clearly better, are clearly better than Shamir, they both should be able to run 49-second flat 400s. So I would think that she runs 49. And if she were to run like 50 high or 51 low, maybe you think, hey, maybe this is Shamir Little's year to kind of sneak in and upset one of the big two, because she's running on fire right now. Now, I don't know. We don't know her mindset of this race. It could be like, just get a good hard effort in. I'm not going to the well. We don't know all the ins and outs, but I am excited to see at least Sydney run something that's at least closer to what she's good at. She's not really a 60-meter hurdler. That's what she was doing in high school. She's not really a short 100-meter hurdler either. Her prime bread and butter is running the 200 and up. So getting to see her run an open 4 will be fun to watch and to see where she's at right now, about 2 months out from the trials.
Yeah. 4 is great because she's one of the best 400-meter runners in the world. She just so happens to be one of the best 400-meter hurdlers of all time, and that's where her event is at. So I think, you can learn a lot from what she runs in this quarter. She did run a high hurdle race, as I mentioned earlier this year, outdoor race, 13:03 in Phoenix. That's just a marker that you can use to see if she's improving in that event as well. But I'm with you. I think the 400 is something to watch, just because so many women in the United States this year have been running fast times. So we have some data points out there to compare her performance to, and people in her event specifically. On the distance side of things, we got some folks from NAZ Elite competing in this meet. And on the sprint side, I should also mention, I saw Amir Webb on the entry, Candace Hill, Blake Leeper. There's some other big names in this race. Did you look at on the distance side of things? I know Scott Faubles in the 10,000. Did anything jump out to you?
Yeah, I just seen the NAZ Elite guys getting a good rust buster out, because we haven't seen NAZ Elite on the track in a long time. Speaking of NAZ Elite, our boy Ben Rosario got a little subtweet going on Twitter saying like, ooh, he tweeted this like a few days after the rankings came out. Ooh, looks like it's the annual I'm not quoting him exactly. I'm just paraphrasing. Because I don't remember the quote particular. It looks like it's the annual, like, undercount my athletes, and then we show up and prove the rankings wrong. Basically saying some people out there in the media, cough FloTrack, disrespect NAZ Elite.
Cough Gordon.
Cough Gordon. It's not FloTrack. It's just Gordon. Rank them don't give them enough respect in the rankings, and they come out and do well. And then I was like, oh, where did I rank the NAZ Elite people in my rankings? Which I'm going to bring it up right now. I've updated them since, but they have mainly 5. So, yeah, I can see why he'll be mad at me. So I rank Ryan Hill 8th in the 5K. That's probably not nice.
Yeah.
I rank Stephanie Bruce 12th in the 5K. Kellen Taylor 14th in the 5K. That's mean. And then in the 10K, which they could at least argue like, all right, yeah, we're not good 5K runners on the women's side. I don't even have Tyler Day ranked. But hey, he hasn't done anything. I can't rank him anymore. I put all my money on him one time and he DNF'd. But I guess their best hope I have right now is Kellen Taylor 6th in the 10K. And I have Carissa Schweizer better than her, which I think is fair. Emily Sisson, I think that's fair. Molly Huddle, that's fair. And then I have Elise Cranny and Rachel Schneider. I think Elise Cranny just ran a fast time. Rachel Schneider is one of the better kickers. I think that's fair. But, when you're coaching the athlete, every athlete should be ranked number 1. So
I will say this: the 5 and 10 on the women's side is insanely deep, historically deep. So it's a tough ask to try to get every deserving person inside of a top 5 or a top 10. Are you done airing grievances? Can we talk about the Dez Linden 50K, or do you want to keep going?
Well, I just want to say that maybe if NAZ Elite runs well in this Brian Clay 5K and 10K,
oh, I see what you mean.
They'll move up in the rankings.
Gotcha.
I only can do what I see. I will say this though: finishes on an off-year championship should never count towards any, like, do what you do in 2018, 2014, and 2010. No one is trying. It's because our sport's stupid. But
it depends who's running the race, though.
That's true.
Depends who's running the race. You got to look at.
But even who's running the race, there's that non-pressure element where, like, it kind of it feels just like a regular Peyton Jordan type race. So anyway, enough rant on that. What did you want to talk about next?
Well, you're a noted ultra running expert, so I thought we'd transition from that into Dez Linden's 50K. This is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
I got to admit, I like a runner moving up in distance is always interesting. A runner who's still good at their primary distance, moving up in distance is even better. And she's obviously running a race distance that, track fans, marathon fans aren't familiar with, but she runs 2:59:54. Just smashed the old record 3:07:20. Averages out to 5:47. She went through the marathon 2:31 and change, just to give you a little bit of perspective. about how quickly she was going. You could look at this result two ways, I guess. One, is this going to be a new thing for Linden? Is she can continue to move up? Maybe she does a 50-mile race next time. Obviously, that's a much bigger jump than jumping from marathon to 50K. Or you could look at this and say, she's a really, 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 really good all-around runner. And you go to the fall season. What are we going to have in the fall, Gordon? We're going to have major marathon on top of major marathon on top of major marathon. She's going to be in a good position to get a really high finish and maybe sneak out a win in one of those marathons just because how the people are distributed in that race. And I thought it was interesting. She backed it up. She said that's what she was going for, and she backed it up and did it. So kudos to her. I like that she made this race something to watch.
Or you could look at it another way. It could be an indictment on the, dare I say it, people are going to get mad at me, an indictment on the quality of ultra running. That when
the 50K is not even, the ultra purists will tell you the 50K is not even like a real ultra distance, right? They'll say it's not even long enough. All I'm saying is, what's the main reason that marathoners' careers come to an end, would you say? Or even 10K runners, even 5K runners.
Joints? I don't
yeah, injuries. Yeah. And what does she go out and do? She runs a 31-mile race and has done all sorts of crazy training. She's put it on the internet for all to see. Like, she's pounding out mile after mile after mile and just seems like she can roll with all of it. It just makes me think she's going to be able to go on and run at a high level. Because, again, if you go through at 2:31 and then run for 5 more miles, well, I mean, you're obviously well under sub 230 shape, you know? And if you get mid 220s, low 220s, you're in the mix in a major for sure, especially something that's plays to her strength like Boston and New York.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is a lot of our elite marathoners typically don't do what Dez is doing. And so therefore that area is untapped with a lot of talented runners, right? Where it makes sense that she should be able to break their record by about 8 minutes or plus, because the people who are attempting 50K runs are not as talented as the Dez Lindens and other marathoners of this world. So that's what I meant by it's an indictment, because it's like, hey, when the best of the best show up and race it, we can shatter your records. So I'm sure Dez is like, hey, I could get all these world records. You know, I should just like show up and like I can collect world records after world record after world record because she's fit and that's all. I mean, she's talented, and the history of the 50K is not as notorious as the history as the marathon or the 10K.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a bigger ass though, because you go from 26 miles to 31 miles, and then if you go next to 50 miles, then you're jumping up 19 miles until your next distance. This is not moving up from the 5K to the 10K. It's true. It's a big jump. I mean, the previous record holder, Allie Dixon, was a marathoner too. I guess with 50K, you see it more. People run it as just, tacking onto a marathon as opposed to a 100-mile person dropping down. Like, that's a whole other, like, they're eating like whole meals when they're running like some of those ultra marathons. It's just a whole different, like, if you're stopping and getting breakfast during the race, it's just an entirely different event in my opinion. But you would think though, even 5 years ago, if I asked you, hey, Gordon, predict who in 5 years on the women's side is going to be really good at a 50K, you probably would have said Dez Linden. Just the pace, the steadiness, it makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. I do agree with the whole idea that she's probably going to run multiple marathons this fall. And this is like her training for that, to be able to put her body through. Like, I think it would be cool. I mean, she probably won't do this, but what if she tried to do like what's the 2 marathons that are like the same weekend? Is it Boston and Chicago?
Boston and Chicago, right? Back to back. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be wild if she tries to like finish top 20 in both or something like that? Like she purposely paces like the Chicago one and then goes all out in the Boston.
It would be funny because we're all expecting somebody to do it, but it's just going to be a random person who's a 3-hour marathoner or a 4-hour marathon to do it. And it would be funny if it's like, oh no, it's one of the greatest marathoners in U.S. history that ends up doing it.
It'll be great.
Yeah, 100%,
If she
100%.
was
And
able to like get top 10 in both, that would be like the greatest like performance of all time. Top 10 in back-to-back marathons.
yeah, and even the schedule's so cramped. Again, you could have maybe even a week between races, and it would still be impressive. But I agree, the back to back would be something else. I'm looking at the schedule right now. Yeah, I think is it 10th and 11th or 9th and 10th? Is that when it is in October?
Yeah, I think it's a
believe.
Sunday and Monday, right?
Okay.
Or is it a Saturday, Sunday? It's one of those.
Let's see, Boston Marathon. Let's do some Googling here. 2021, Monday, October 11th, and then Chicago Marathon, Sunday, October 10th. Yeah. Now, here's the trouble, though. You're going from Central Time to Eastern Time. So
you lose an hour.
Lose an hour of recovery. And every hour at that point would be valuable. Although Boston starts later in the day.
There you go.
Maybe you request you get in the earliest wave possible in Chicago and then go from there.
And then get the latest wave possible in Boston.
Who's a person in track who you'd like to see pull a Dez? And by that I mean just run a distance higher than they've run before.
Donovan Brazier in a 5K?
1500. Oh, in a 5K. Okay.
We already see him in the 1500. I would want to see. I don't know. Shelby in a 10K, which we actually might see. I heard rumors that Shelby Houlihan might run the 10K at the trials. I heard rumors. I know that's kind of.
Wow.
I'm not reporting,
That'll be something.
But I've heard it. I'm not reporting, but I heard it. I think she might run a 10K at the Sound Running meet to get the time. And it makes sense when you think about it because 1500 is before the 10K. So she can do the 1500 and then have the 10K as her backup. I think that's what she's going to do.
Oh, so she's not planning to do a Sifan Hassan at the Olympics and do both. This is just an insurance policy.
Yeah. But imagine being a 10K runner and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. And then you're like, you'll be watching that 1500. Please, Shelby, make the team. For God's sake, do not make the team. And then she gets fourth and you're like, God damn it. I just missed out your opportunity to make the Olympics. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Because we talked about the 5,000 moving on top of the 1,500 and how that is going to impact both events. But maybe what's going to happen is just everybody's going to move to the 10.
Yeah. That's what we think is going to happen.
A lot of those top 1,500 meter runners are just going to try to get a 10K qualifier just in case. That's asking a lot, though, for a miler to move all the way up to 10,000. Shelby obviously could do it. She had that good race in cross country a couple of years ago. And
look, someone like Rachel Schneider. Rachel Schneider is doing it right now. She's like a 4-flat 1,500 meter runner who can run a 10K.
Yeah. Well, and for some reason, I think of her more of a 5'10" person now. I don't know why that is. Just because she's been so good in those two events, and those have been where the focus is at. But okay, so that's interesting. Gordon is not reporting, but he is hearing things.
Just hearing.
Okay.
Not reporting, just hearing.
We need to start a Gordon Hears segment as opposed to Gordon's guesses.
Clip out that clip and spread that rumor. Put it up on the blogs. That's what happens in the NBA. When the NBA
aggregators
podcast, the aggregators, they talk about one thing. I heard LeBron had pizza for breakfast, and then it's everywhere. Hoop Nation pizza.
It's LeBron. It's LeBron talked to Steph Curry at the All-Star game about playing together. That's what it was this year, and then everybody writes about it.
If you're Steph Curry,
if
you're not to turn this into an NBA podcast, but I love doing that. If you're Steph Curry and you realize, hey, it's not going to work out in Golden State, it's not happening, and you're deciding, hey, I'm going to go somewhere else. Do you go to your hometown in Charlotte to play with LaMelo Ball, or do you go to the city of brotherly love to play with your brother and have the actual Splash Brothers, Curry and Curry? Would you rather play with your brother in Philly or play with LaMelo
Maybe play
Ball
with
in
your.
Charlotte, your hometown?
Yeah, you trying to win, or are you trying to hang out
Yeah.
with your brother? Okay, then
Oh,
I think you
come
probably.
on, dude. No, dude, they would. You do
You
know Curry.
you get your brother to
Curry.
you move. You don't think you can move his brother to Charlotte too? He's Steph Curry. I think he
No,
could get some people to move
I
around. I
think you'd
think
be
he could
like
get
2 Currys
both
with
Currys in Charlotte.
Embiid. Oh my goodness,
Here,
that is
here's two people I don't think are going to change teams, and you can clip this out, aggregators, NBA aggregators. I don't think Steph Curry's going to leave the Warriors ever, and I don't think Damian Lillard's ever going to leave the Blazers. And I could be naive. It could be nostalgia talking there for an era when people stuck it out with their team for their entire career. But I think those two guys will not leave. In any event, we have some more stuff to talk about. But first, you did an interview with Wayney Gebre. It was this week's edition of the Under Armour Performance Series. I wasn't there. It was just you. I was on paternity leave. I'm sure you guys talked about a variety of topics. So we're going to play that right now. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about a college athlete who went pro during the middle of the outdoor season. But first, here's Wayney Gebre in the Under Armour Performance Series with Gordon Mack.
And now it's time for the Under Armour Performance Series. Under Armour is more than an apparel company or shoe company. They are a human performance company trying to not only make their athletes better, but everyone a better runner. In this series, we are talking to several athletes, coaches, and trainers on a variety of topics to help improve you as a runner, from preparation, nutrition, training, to competing and recovery. Today's guest, Wayney Gebre, former NCAA champion, two-time NCAA champion, who now runs for the Under Armour Dark Sky distance team. Wayney, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Excited for a year of track and field that actually is happening. You know, it's fun after going through 2020. 2021 is looking pretty good. But this year kind of started off with, I guess, the academic school year started off with a bang. You announced that you weren't going to run for New Mexico this school year. You decided to turn pro early. Tell us about that decision, how you came to be, and why you ultimately decided to forgo NCAA eligibility and become a professional runner.
Yeah, it's been everything looks like crazy this time, but my decision was going pro was like there was so many unknown things at the time. So a lot of cancellation. I don't know whether the NCAA is gonna happen or not. So from that, I was kind of been thinking just like to move another step. So I decided to um, turn pro because I just want to prepare for more and other bigger races than sitting and just waiting for the unknown things. So that was my decision, just to move up and look for other opportunity instead of waiting because I was close to finish school as well.
Why did you ultimately choose Under Armour as your sponsor and join the Dark Sky distance team? And how has the transition been once you decided to make that decision to join Dark Sky?
Um, choosing Under Armour, I feel like they made everything that I was looking for new transition. And before even I announced it, I feel like I've been a part of the family for a long time. Just meeting the people, the team, the coach, the place to train, everything seems perfect. That's what makes me to uh, decide with Under Armour. And also, it's been a great transition. I love the coach, the place, as I said, and I'm already a part of the family, and this has been like a great transition so far.
Was there a benefit being kind of in a similar location? Obviously, Flagstaff, Arizona, close to Albuquerque, where you were attending school. Training at altitude, was that a factor in being able to kind of stay in your environment?
Yes, I mean, we have been like while I was in college, we have been driving in Flagstaff a couple times just to train out there, and also I was there during the summer visit my friends, and it feels home, just like going back and forth. So I want to be close to what I used to be, and I know that's gonna give me the same benefit that I've been training in Albuquerque, because it's same. It's like it's higher altitude, but it's gonna be the same transition instead of going completely different place. It's very similar to what I get used to. So yes.
Well, it seems like you haven't missed a step since turning pro. You've run some fast times on the track. Got to race with your new teammates like Sharon Lochetti, Rachel Schneider. What has it been like being able to train with those athletes, both in races and also in practice, to kind of get you where you want to ultimately be?
It's amazing. It's always great to have been surrounded by the people who have the same goal as you. And also, when you see your teammate and doing so well, you just say like, if my teammate can do this, why not? So it's been amazing. It's just they're incredible, talented people, and I'm so blessed to be part of their teammate, and they um, push me every day when I stand on the line in the start line with them during the race. And yeah, it gives me more confidence to uh, run with my teammate always.
Is there a difference between the training regiment that you have with Under Armour versus what it was like in New Mexico during the college years?
It's nothing crazy, but it's slightly different. Now, I mean, in college, you have to fit where everyone's training with team practice, but here, of course, we train together. And as I said, I'm still going back and forth, and it just like the program is created for you. What works for you, what works for your teammate that is running with you. So I just like slightly different, I'll say.
You talk about being created for you. What are your goals that you want to achieve this year?
My goal this year is to run at the Olympic trials and make the team. If that could happen by the time.
Well, Wayney, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. We're looking forward to you getting back out there on the track. Do you know when you're going to be racing again anytime soon?
Hopefully at the end of May, but I'm not sure yet. So like I'm processing all the graduation um things, and also planning for a race, but we'll see. And as soon as I figure it out more, so we'll have more details. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, big summer ahead. Olympic year, graduation year, all together. Looking forward to following you on the track. Thanks a lot, Wayney.
Thank you so much.
All right. Congrats to Wayney Gebre on graduation, by the way. That's awesome.
There we go.
I can't watch Wayney Gebre do anything now without thinking about the time she put Lincoln in the blender when we went to Albuquerque and he was trying to keep up with her on a bike. I mean, me too. I mean, I was a mess as well too, but Lincoln literally had to sit down for a while after filming that workout. He did a good job. But the altitude combined with the fact that she can run a heck of a tempo run just put our former colleague in a bad spot. Anyway, Gordon, you changed clothes. That's good. That was quick.
I've had my fair share of winded workout Wednesday shoots where I don't know how to. I'm like embarrassed. There's been times when the running group has dropped me on the bike, and I'm just like, because riding on a bike is fine, but when you're like on like a surface that isn't quick, like a dirt path or like grass, you really have to push that bike to go up to like the 5-minute pace that they're running. And I've had some embarrassing moments. I'm like, oh, I'm purposely stopping is what I would do. I'm just getting a different angle. And it's like, no, I'm just out of shape.
Well, we were on a very smooth bike path. Could not have been smoother. It was extremely flat, so that we do not have that excuse. It was at altitude, and I had it in my mind I was going to zoom ahead and then get a shot of her running because Lincoln was going to follow her, and I was going to get the front shots, and then I was going to get back on, then catch up. But by the time I put the camera, because I had Jeremy's camera, it was super nice. I had the camera, I had to put it back in the backpack. She's going fast. By the time you get everything going, you look up and it's demoralizing because you're 90 meters behind her, and then you're hauling to try to catch up. What was your hardest workout to film? Because you filmed a lot of them. What was the one that was just a logistical or physical challenge?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I have moments like there was times when I was supposed to film like a long run with Colorado, and they were running and they went onto like a gravel path, and I was like, this is it. My bike is not going to work, and I just let them go. I was going to film them for like 40 minutes, and then it turned into a 5-minute filming session. I was like, see ya, I'm not coming. So that was an interesting one. I've had times where coaches are doing like 4 different workouts on the track at once, and you're trying to, Joe Franklin's notorious for doing this. You're trying to get everyone and be able to make sure you can structure it so everyone knows exactly what everyone is doing. That's been difficult, but that's just because of the chaos of it. Another tiring one, I would say Princeton. They did some like loops on a grass course, and I was on a bike, and I wasn't doing a good job keeping up. That was hard. There's a lot. I can tell you that. There's a lot of embarrassing things. So yeah. It's not as easy as you think, right? But now I've learned strategies of how to like simplify it and make it a lot like just easier to understand how to get to people what they want to see. Like we filmed a Ben True workout last weekend, which will come out maybe next week. Ben True workout, did a good workout, did 5 by 2K with a 600 at the end. And I was like, all right, I'm on a track. I'm just going to stay where I am and just use the zoom and pretend like I'm just film the whole thing from one spot. It's beautiful views, good camera quality. We're all good. And so
use the zoom.
Use the zoom.
I like it.
That's my one suggestion for workout filming. Use the zoom. That's all I gotta say. Use the zoom.
My suggestion is to get Jeremy to do it because
Or
somehow
get a professional. Yeah.
The Buffalo Park workout he did at NAU was
cool.
Amazing because it's not flat, and to hold the camera that still, getting in front of them, I don't know. It was just there was so many obstacles to that coming out as good as it is. He's just a strong cyclist is part of it, and he's a good shooter, and he I don't know, he goes all in on the workouts.
Can I ruin the myth on that one though? You say he's such a strong cyclist. It was an electric bike. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
I was joking when I said that. I didn't think it actually was. It really was?
Yeah, it was an electric bike.
Man, I don't know if I'm more surprised about that or how big the Dallas airport is. There's a lot going on. Okay, let's talk
Next
about.
time you go there, be like, I'm in Manhattan. It's crazy. It's like weird to think about.
Can I get a slice? Casey Lightfoot, star pole vaulter, over 6 meters this year for Baylor, announced that he is ending his college season. He's going to go pro in preparation for the Olympic trials. I could read his full statement that he posted on his Twitter page. Actually, I'll read these last couple paragraphs. He says, as I look ahead to the future, in particular the upcoming Summer Olympics in Tokyo, I'm once again faced with one of those difficult decisions. Taking into consideration many factors for my pole vaulting career, I feel the best situation will be back in my hometown where I would like to return to working with my previous coach, the coach that he had before he went to college, who taught me how to vault when I started. We have stayed very close throughout my collegiate career, and he's continued to be a guiding force for my development. Many will ask why I don't stay in Waco and finish the remainder of the season with Baylor, but in light of the strength of the American pole vault right now, I feel that the timing of finishing this year and then moving on may not provide the best opportunity for preparation for the summer season, Olympic trials, and hopefully the Olympic Games. For the reasons stated above and the option to complete my coursework online, I've decided that now would be the best time to move. I'm excited and grateful to say that I'm turning pro. What do you think about this, Gordon?
He jumped 6 meters under his college coach. So things were working pretty well for him in college. He had great momentum, and then I thought, okay, maybe it's the scheduling. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
he could do one vault at Big 12s, and then 2 weeks later, he only needs to jump like vault nothing at regionals, doesn't really count. And then you do NCAAs a week out from the trials. I don't know really much about the pole vaulting strenuousness of a pole vaulting competition day and
Mm-hmm.
how many is too many. The way I know, like running too many 10Ks is kind of bad for you. So I'm sure he knows it better than me, but I don't. It's weird. Like I didn't know what the what is bad about the Waco training to get you to the trials. Like it makes like I just feel like you're kind of changing things up at the last minute, and it would make more sense to like kind of ride this wave. He hasn't had any reason to like. Maybe he had one bad outdoor competition. He was like, "I'm out." I don't know.
Did he though?
Maybe he
Did he have a
doesn't.
bad outdoor
Maybe
cup?
I don't know. How do you do at Texas Relays? He maybe didn't vault as high as he thought he would. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's he doesn't want to do school no more. I mean, he said he's doing online classes.
Yeah, he's doing online classes, so that
Maybe he
I
doesn't
don't
want
think
to pay
that's.
for. Maybe he wants to get out of his lease of his apartment, and he's like, "All right, I don't have to do like 3 more months of this."
I don't think that's it. He did 572 at Baylor Invite, and then he did 580 at Texas Relays. Indoors 593, Big 12 indoors 590, and then Texas Tech shootout indoors was where he went 6 meters. From a competition perspective, it's obviously he's going to get more competition out than in. I don't know what meets are available that he's going to be able to go to in the next couple months. Listen, if someone's paying you to compete in your sport, I'm
Is he
not going to
getting paid
ever
though?
criticize any. Well, he says turning pro. He says turning pro at the end, so I'm assuming he would be getting
Well, turning pro doesn't
a
mean you're getting
a
paid.
contract.
Turning pro does not mean you're getting paid.
Well, I hope he's getting paid. Basically, is what I'm saying. And I
Yeah.
think we saw this. Was it 2 indoor seasons ago
And
when
Sammy Watson did it.
didn't? Yeah, and then didn't Lena Irby go pro in the middle of the season
Yeah.
as well too? And we I remember talking at the time, hey, is this going to become a trend? And it didn't. And I mean, part of that's because COVID and everything, but now it is picking up again, um, which is interesting. Or at least with one person here too. Yeah, I thought, okay, the back to back nature of NCAA's and Olympic trials might be part of the reason that it's happening. And if you're not going to compete in NCAA's, then
What's the point? Yeah.
that's the whole point of being in competing on your college team. Maybe that's it. But that meet is it seems like that meet is ideal for a build up. It's simulates a championship competition, but it's not so hard to where he's going to need to go to the well to win it. It's interesting. Not something that I expected to see about. What are we, a third of the way through outdoors? It's hard to tell when outdoors started and where indoors ended. I guess if you look at indoor and outdoor together, we're well past the halfway point now. I mean, there's 2 months left in the season, basically.
Yeah. It almost seems like it's like a case of like senioritis where you're kind of like, I ain't gonna be here next year. I can do whatever I want.
Mhm.
Screw it. Let's get that ball rolling. Or I don't have to wait till June to do what I want. I can do it now. Um, I just feel like there's something that's not in that letter that we don't know, and I don't think it's anything bad or anything. I think he's just doing what he wants, which you respect. But it is kind of weird. No, like you don't see like Tara Davis doing this, and she has the ultimate reason to like go pro now, right? Like
Mhm.
she broke the collegiate record. She's like on top of her game. She's trying to make her first Olympic team. She could make a
Yeah.
lot of money if she would pro right now. But I think
Mhm.
Tara is probably thinking like, hey, I'm going to stick with this. Clearly something's working with Coach Flo and that whole crew they have down there. Then I'm going to ride this out through NCAAs, then take that momentum to the trials. You know?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's situation's different. Everybody's event is so different. Their college coach, their previous coach. So yeah, you don't really know what is at the front of their mind when there's decisions like this. I just thought it was noteworthy because the other ones were like it wasn't going that well in college. Like they were hitting it. It looked to be a rough spot. Lightfoot's great. He's fantastic. He's having an amazing season. He's doing things that nobody has ever done in college, and Mondo Duplantis was just in college. So if you can do things that have never been done, that's pretty impressive. So I was a little bit surprised. I want to talk before we go. We'll talk about this on Friday though too. You released some new rankings on the website.
I did.
Individual
new
rank,
individual U.S. ranking.
Yeah. What stood out to you when you put those together? You don't need to go too in depth, but what were some things that were some changes to the top 15 U.S. rankings?
In general, most top 15s are going to stay the same. There's not much, like no one did anything crazy in the 5K. I mean, in the past 2 weeks to change it. I mean, I guess Eduardo Herrera went 13:24, but when you compare it to what the pros are doing in the 13.0s and 13 teens, it doesn't really mess up the 5Ks, 10Ks, 1500s. So be it. There were a few changes. I'll start with some field event stuff. Like in the decathlon, Garrett Scantling wasn't ranked at all in my top 15, mainly because he hasn't done a decathlon in like forever. Just like did an 8,400 decathlon, and now he's ranked number one in the U.S. So some guy went from not ranked to number one in the decathlon. And Garrett Scantling, went to Georgia. I think he was trying to become a football player, if I'm correct. Is that the same person? I think that's who it was, right? Am I right or am I wrong?
You're the football guy in the show. I stay laser focused on the NBA and what Steph and Seth Curry are going to do in the future. That's where my focus is.
Yeah, he tried to become a football player for the Falcons. So
gotcha. Okay.
He hasn't really been doing the decathlon for a few years now, but now he's back and he hasn't missed a beat. So he's new to the rankings. I think a couple, like the high jump changed a bit. But the biggest change, I would say, was probably in the 400, where some commenter on YouTube said that Quinera Hayes could make the team, and I laughed at it. Well, now she's ranked 4th because she ran 49 seconds. So
there we go.
Yeah, right now my 400 order is Waylon Jonathas, who didn't actually run that well, but I'm going based off of history. Phyllis Francis 2, Shakima Wembley 3, Quinera Hayes 4, Kendall Ellis 5, Okolo, Irby, Felix. That's my top 8. And I can
and you're not
honestly
considering Little on that, right? You didn't.
No, Little is not considered. Yeah, Little's not considered. But I did move Little up to 3rd in the 400 hurdles above Ashley Spencer because I was like, Spencer ain't out here running 49 seconds. So I put Little into the top 3 in the 400 hurdles. But the more and more I think about it, I think Shamil Little is definitely going to do the 400, right?
That's what I think. I think she's going to do both. I think she's going to do both. Be my guess. I don't know why you wouldn't. 49 is good. She can make the team in both. I don't know if she wants to run both, but the 400 has to be very appealing. If for no other reason than the top 2 women of all time are not currently competing for the U.S. in that event. I see in the 15 you still have Centro number 1. That's interesting. It's noteworthy.
Yeah, keeping them there. You convinced me. You told me it was nothing. You said his 150, 800 is nothing. So I was like, okay, it's nothing. But I do think when we get to, I think, end of the next ranking, if he does another race, I think his next race will affect his ranking. So whatever he does next, whether it's good or bad, if it's good, he'll stay at 1. If it's bad, he's going to drop. But he has one more race before I start judging him. But yeah, we're going to update these rankings every 2 weeks. And then the off week, we'll update the NCAA ranking. So next week, we'll update NCAA. Then the week after, pro again. So be fun.
There we go.
And then there's going to be a big change in the rankings, probably, I'm not sure when, but maybe in a month, when I'm going to completely ignore 2019. So like people who are living off the coattails of their past, it's going to be stripped away, where it's going to be a "what have you done for me lately" type ranking, which I think is fair, because you gotta give people the baseline of 2019 performances, but then once we get a few weeks out from the trials, I don't care what you did in 2019 anymore, and things will kind of be more about what have you done in the past 6 months. So
most of us gave up on 2019 a couple months into 2020, but I like that you're hanging on to it. On the site tomorrow, on our YouTube page, we're releasing the Justin Knight flow film, and we're going to have him as a guest on the pod for tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, the FloTrack YouTube channel, and also the FloTrack podcast YouTube channel, please do that, because there's more and more stuff going up every single day. Like we said before, we're releasing one flow film a week on there. So we had the Jenny Simpson one last week, Justin Knight this week. We're going to have him on to chat about the film, but also about what he's up to now. He ran that really good 1500 out in Austin, where he showed a kick, a big old kick, kicked some milers, outkicked some milers. So we'll talk about that. I also want to ask him, because in one of we did another feature with him at the Peyton Jordan meet, and in that feature he talks about how one of his first times running at Peyton for Syracuse, he stayed up till 5 a.m. the night before because he wanted to download the new Drake album. I want to ask him about that. I want to really get into the nitty gritty with that. And so it'll be fun. He also says he can beat any track athlete, any distance runner in basketball. So I want to game that out a little bit, and I'll have the chance to do that when I talk to him.
I mean,
so stay tuned.
Does he think
bonus pod on Thursday.
Ask him if he can beat Eric Kennard.
I think he meant distance runner.
Oh, okay.
Well, I want to know.
Come on, man. No, you can't say any track athlete and then be like, oh, only the scrawny white kids. Come on. He's got to go against.
Josh Thompson can dunk. Okay. So I want to ask him specifically about Josh Thompson. But anyway, that'll be up tomorrow. That's the Thursday pod. And then Friday, you and I will be back at 9 a.m. Central. Maybe. We'll see. Probably.
This time.
Hopefully. Okay. This time we're serious. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to Alon for producing. Really appreciate everybody subscribing to the FloTrack Podcast YouTube channel. Also on Twitter, @FloTrack Podcast. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.